about your marriage, how you met your husband and what the marriage was like and how long you've been married.
Sure. I met my husband. It was at a book party, and he walked in the room. It was a very crowded place, and it was like there was this light shining coming on. Everybody in the room got very quiet. You know, he had this kind of presence about him, and he had, you know, just light coming off of him, and I immediately was, you know, he had an aura kind of about him, you know, and somehow during the course of the evening we got around to talking, and we started dating. And then he decided to move out to California. We were living in Ohio, living separately in Ohio, and so he got a place out here and called me to come out and join him. And I said, wonderful, you know, and so I thought he was a good friend of mine, you know, and a very, you know, good person. And then we moved in together. We had never lived together, and moved in together because I thought this was the man for me, you know, to spend my life with. And then we talked about buying a home together, and we did. I took some little bit of money I had and put it down on the condominium that he picked out. I had nothing to do with it, now that I think about it. And I basically turned over all my money to him to go into this condo, you know, our home together. And within a short time, we then got married here in San Diego. And so it's been 12 years, almost 12 years now, we've been married.
And do you have children with him?
I do not, no. We're both older people. He has previous marriages, and I have one previous marriage, and 3 children from that marriage. They're older adult children and with children of their own.
So you've been married for about 12 years, and when did you realize that there was something wrong in this marriage?
Right away, actually, but I buried it. I kept telling myself, this man is, you know, he's a wonderful man. You know, he tells me he loves me, and he was very charming, absolutely so charming. That was just incredible, and it was like I was, you know, I was drawn to him and his personality. And then I started noticing that probably right away he had very odd, strange behaviors and routines and things, how he thought about life and women and very other bizarre things. But again, I buried it all. I put it out of my mind. I thought, oh, everybody has quirks. You know, these are just quirks. You just kind of, you know, you live with, and I've got my quirks. He's got his quirks. But they weren't. They were serious. And I kept telling myself, he's just eccentric. You know, these are like eccentric things, and it makes him kind of special because he was so eccentric acting. You know, with his food, he had very bizarre food preferences, and sleeping. I wasn't allowed to sleep with him in the same bed at night. You know, he had to have his own bedroom, and then as the years went on, the control just increased, and the anger he had towards me. You know, he wanted me to look a certain way, to dress a certain way, and not to talk to our neighbors. You know, and if I did, I was always questioned what I said, who said what. I wasn't allowed to eventually use the car, and he took away all my money. I wasn't allowed any access to any of the bank accounts, the savings accounts, the deed to our what I thought was our home, and the abuse has gotten just worse over the last couple of years, especially very, very difficult. The verbal abuse, it's very demeaning and demoralizing, and within the last few years I noticed my health was failing. I've become almost deaf, and I didn't know it. You know, I've lost the hearing in one of my ears, and just about, I've discovered now the hearing in the other one is just about gone. And I had worked like 25 years in the printing industry, commercial printing, and had done very hard work, you know, and my back had just given out with me. I'd worked for my husband. I told him, because he was handicapped, I would take care of him. I would be his legs for him. You know, I'd do everything in the house, you know, to help him since he was handicapped. And but then I found my health was failing. Last year I had to get my back fused. I had such serious back problems, and I could no longer really do the things for him that he was used to and expected. And I could no longer, I was having difficulty hearing, and he was being very abusive towards me because I couldn't hear, making fun of me, mocking me, and telling me, you know, you're not doing the work around the house the way you used to. I just couldn't. So everything started getting more and more deteriorated.
So at some point you realized this just isn't going to work, and somehow you found us. Can you describe a little bit about that process and how you found us?
I was searching on the internet for some sort of help, and I ran across Second Saturday on the internet, and your name and Candace's name came up, and something just clicked in me. Everything I read online about Second Saturday clicked with me. I said, "This is it. This is what I need to do. This is the people I need to see. This is where I need to go. I need to make contact with these people. This is my way out of here." So I told myself I was going to talk with you and see if you could help me. And that's what I did. I took a chance. I got in a car. I made up some big story about having to go to the doctor. And I went over and I saw you. And from that day forward, from that meeting I had with you, you taught me so much, and it just completely changed my life, Janita, and I gotta thank you. You made me realize that I am a person. I have rights. I was thinking I wasn't even a person anymore. He had degraded me, so I didn't even care for myself. And you showed me the things that I worked for, that are mine in my life, and gave me a new perspective on myself. You showed me a way that I can have a life. I can be a person again.
So you said that he was restricting your use of the car and you had to make up stories. Tell us about when you broke out of that restriction and how you came to see us the second time.
What I did is I told myself the day I was driving home from meeting you that day, that first meeting, I said, I'm going to I don't know how long it's going to take me to get out and get away from this man, but I'm going to just not day or an hour that's going to go by, I'm not going to work and work very hard on doing this and succeeding, getting out of this, this terrible place I'm in. And I did. I went home, even though he's right there, in the home with me, and we're just nose to nose practically. I found ways to do things every day, to learn about finances like you advised me to do, to look at the papers that you had drawn up for me to see what was possible in my life. And I pretty soon found myself formulating a plan, a real plan, I thought, to get out of there if things got maybe even dangerous with him, because he was very scary, very threatening to me. So online, I contacted some car dealerships and proposed, negotiations with them. And I didn't even think I could do it. I just did it on a fluke. I thought but the minute I got down there in the dealership, they'd say, "Go home. You don't have any money. You can't have a car." But I drove out of there with a car. I took a taxi cab down there. It must have been a 30, 40-mile trip. I paid $60 for that cab ride. And I drove out of that dealership with a car, my car. And that was my way out of there. If he ever again threatened me or was abusive to me, I'm just going out the door. and getting in my car and driving away. He's so shocked about it still to this day that he's never asked me about the car. He's never looked at the car. He's never sat in the car. He's never asked me how much I spent on the car. The only thing he wanted to know is my name on the car. And I told him no.
Where do you think your life will be in a few years when you can finally accomplish that? What are you hoping for yourself?
I'm hoping that I'll have a peaceful home. That's my goal, and I'll reconnect with my family. I feel like he would cut me off from my family. He would say derogatory things about my family. They weren't good enough, or this one or that one. It was things that were always, you couldn't say that they were outwardly negative things, but they were in such a way that he framed them that he wanted to shame me to be with my family. And being across on a different coast from my children, it was very hard to stay connected with them. But I feel like I'm gonna have that connection. I want a family. I have a family, and it's not going to be him. He's not going to be in it, and I'm going to have a happy home.